And good evening, everyone. ESS, Empire State Sports, proudly presents the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. Your host tonight, Joey Riom, Dave Bartlett, myself, Pete Ghost, on our special guest from North Country Community College, way up in the mountains, Coach Rob Roy. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thanks a lot for inviting me, guys.
We missed you with the other two dynamic duo earlier in the season. Unfortunately, you couldn't make it that night, but we had a blast. It probably would have been even better if you were there. So we're gonna see if we can reconnect with those two guys. We'll have all three on one more time in the future.
That'd be great. That'd be a good thing. We'd have a lot of fun with those guys.
I'm sure. A lot to talk about tonight. I'm going to start it off by turning it right over to Joe Riom. Here we go.
Oh, Coach, well, so glad that we finally got you on. We tried this a while ago, but some issues popped up, and we finally found a date. And so glad that you're healthy and fine and able to be with us tonight. So looking forward to this hour. And again, Pete and Dave and I, we're a little biased when it comes to basketball in this show. It's our main go-to and probably our favorite sport to broadcast and to participate in. So really looking forward to this. And obviously North Country Community College both is close to all of our hearts. Just a great place for us to go watch games and you've been a part of this community, North Country Community College, for 30 years. Am I right on that?
33 years, and if we have basketball this year, it'd be 34.
Wow.
And at the moment, we don't have a fall semester, as you know.
Right. Yes, I know, because I've already been told. Chad called to tell me that we won't be able to do our annual game with Saranac Lake, unfortunately, at your college. We love doing that. It's such a great thing for the kids to be able to play on a college floor. And Pete and Dave always come up and do that game, but it's not going to be able to at least not happen there. Hopefully,
no, you don't have your guy Cash anymore. Didn't he play there like 6-7 years?
Did he finally graduate?
Yeah.
He's driving our bus now. You laugh, Coach Roy. He'll find a way back onto my bench. I just know something's going to happen. He'll be on my bench this year. I don't know. This is going to be the first time, for us on a varsity without him in 4 years. But for me, he's been with me for 10 years. I started coaching him when he was in third grade. So, it's funny, Joe.
Was he that big then?
Well, he was always bigger than everybody else. So he always stood out. Everybody remembers Cash. So glad you brought him up. He made me smile. But this show's about you, Coach. So why don't you let the people know? I know you just told us that you were hopefully entering your 34th year at North Country, but tell us the whole story, where you started, your whole pathway that has led you to the point where you are now.
Well, I grew up in the small hamlet of Lisbon, New York, right by the American Legion. And then if you've ever been to the hamlet of New York, there's not a lot there. And the Legion is basically the only bar in town. So I had a lot of late nights with everybody next door to our house sometimes after the Legion let everybody out at night. Also, that was our athletic fields. There was a big field behind the Legion, and my dad would hit fungo to us there. We had our own 3-hole golf course that we made there. There was a basket there, so spent a lot of time across the street on those fields at the Legion. Grew up about a mile from Lisbon Central School, and went to school there and played sports, and was lucky enough to grow up with Ricky Carlisle, who taught me how to shoot the basketball. I'm left-handed and Rick's right, of course, but Ricky was the one that showed me the proper method, and him and his brother Bill were good friends of mine. And I used to go to the Carlisle house, and I kind of laughed because Rick had a full basket in his bedroom above his bed. Not just a little hoop or anything, he had the full backboard, had the rim, had everything. And also, a lot of people probably don't know, he was a pretty good piano player. And you go in the house and he'd be playing piano a lot. So that was kind of neat to see a guy like that grow up and watch all his games and go on to what he did. Also lived close to Ogdensburg. My mom's side of the family were all Ogdensburg people, so had a pretty good association with Ogdensburg and watching all those sports. I remember watching Kirk Dempsey, St. Lawrence Central, play football against Ogdensburg and usually throw last-minute passes and beat Ogdensburg in the last play of the game and break our hearts. And then watch him at St. Lawrence University, terrific athlete. I also played minor hockey till the Bantam level, and we were in the Class C Bantam tournament at Clayton, and we lost 12-0 to Saranac Lake, and then my career ended the next game to the Tri-Towns, they were called. I think that's Brazier, Winthrop, North Lawrence. After 2 periods, it was 26-0, and we decided to wave the white flag. I think they had the puck the whole game, and we decided that we had enough hockey for today. We were going to go eat, so that was the end of our hockey careers at Lisbon. After I got done Lisbon, I went to Canton Agricultural and Technical College. Canton ATC, it was called back when I went to school. It's a 2-year school. And we were the Canton North Bend then. We weren't the Kangaroos. So I like the North Bend better. And went to school there 2 years and then transferred to SUNY Plattsburgh for 3 years. And finished up at Plattsburgh and then got a job at the St. Francis Academy in Lake Placid, New York. And I've been at St. Francis Academy ever since. I finished my 35th year of work on June 10th, and I'm starting my 36th year of work, working with incorrigible youth here. And I know Tom Spanbauer talked about being a social worker, his dad being probation. So my social work here goes hand in hand with coaching basketball. After that, I started in the CYO program. We had a team here that would go over and play in Kenny Kring's league, and we'd also play our home games at North Country Community College. And then I became assistant coach with Bill Johnson and helped him coach the girls team for 5 years. I went and did some recruiting for him right off the bat. I went over to Messina, Ogdensburg, and Morristown, and I was able to pick out 4 or 5 players for his team. Mary Powers, Kelly O'Grady, Marianne Evans from Morristown, Jenny Drolette from Saranac, and we ended up having a pretty good girls team after I helped them do some recruiting. Did that 5 years, and then I became the head women's basketball coach at North Country. Did that for 3 years, and after the 3rd year, Bob Hudak, the AD, said he wanted me to take over the men's team. The men's team that included Chad Ledoux from Norwood Norfolk Central School. I had watched Chad play in high school, and I said, oh, wow, what a present to have. Chad, as we all know, is a pretty feisty kid, so it was kind of neat to coach him. And I had watched him in the first round of the states against Northern Adirondack. Norwood Norfolk was playing against Northern Adirondack at St. Lawrence University in the old gym. And Norwood wasn't shooting very well at the time, and I go, geez, these guys can't shoot. And all of a sudden, Norwood got hot and started hitting all kinds of shots, and Chad's dad turned around and he goes, can't shoot, huh? So that was my first introduction to Angus Ledoux, Chad's dad.
Whoops.
And Mark Henry was on that team, and Craig Walker, Danny Almasi, great players. And they had a real feisty coach, Gary Bossert, who played at Niagara University, who Chad's told me a lot of stories about. So I coached at North Country for the men's team for 2 years, and then we got a new AD, and they were going to start women's hockey. So my schedule got cut down to 14 games, which I didn't think was enough games to be a coach for JUCO basketball. So I knew the SUNY Plattsburgh JV job was open, so I moved to Plattsburgh, and I was the JV coach there, and I was also assistant for men's and women's. And during my JV practices, I usually got the 9 o'clock slot, and this guy, Jack Bilo, and this other kid used to come in the gym and ask me if they could shoot on the side. You know the other kid, his name is Nate Bilo. So back then, even Nate, and I think they lived in Plattsburgh, but still went to Chateauguay. I know they were in the gym. And then Nate's brother, Andy, played on my JV basketball team. So that started my association with Nate. So I stayed at Plattsburgh for 8 years. During that time, I was assistant with Jay Crozier, who ended up being the point guard for John Conowitz's basketball team at Cortland State. And Jay Crozier was also Billy Porter's teammate, Billy Porter from Gouverneur, New York. And then also Jay Crozier was the Vermont State golf champ, Joey. I think he'd appreciate that. So it's kind of a neat thing. Yeah, he was a pretty good golfer. And then Jay finally left and moved down to Pennsylvania. So after that, Chad Ledoux got the coaching job at North Country, and he goes, Coach, will you come back and help me out? Help me coach at North Country. So Tom Curl had just taken over at Plattsburgh, and I had a decision to make, to stay at Plattsburgh or return back to North Country. And I decided to go back with Chad, and I've been at North Country ever since. And a few years ago, Chad asked me to also help out the women's team. So I'm assistant for the men's and women's team. I help out Daryl Christ on the men's side. So I basically just sit through 2 games because most of the time we have games together, men and women. So I usually coach both those games. So I have the title of both assistant men's and women's basketball coaches. And we are up to date till today.
Well, that's holy cow! Did you mention a lot of names?
Yeah, quite clear.
I got a lot more. I got like paper over here, all the names I can start throwing out. I said I could beat all the coaches in the name dropping here if you wanted to say names.
Well, you know, that's the whole point of this show, Coach. And if you've got people that you want to talk about, that you want to thank and remember, that you have at it. But holy cow, the list of names that you've begun with, Tom Curl, we've interviewed Tom. We'll have to keep him in mind, see if we can find him down in his new job in North Carolina, I think he is, right?
He's in Raleigh, North Carolina now, yep.
So we'll see if we can find him and get him back on. What a great interview he is.
Yeah.
And, of course, Coach Nate Bilo's been on our show. Kenny Kring's been on our show. So you mentioned a lot of names.
I wanted to mention Bilo because I was listening to his show, and he says, I was 17-5 one year, but I'd rather be 22-1. So I started doing the math. I go, wait, 17-5 is 22. But 22-1 is 23. I go, what's up with these chatty guys there? You add games to get more wins? I go, what kind of math is that? And I was mentioning that to Jared Dumont last night, and he started laughing. I said, you guys aren't keeping score for me anymore when I'm at Chattagay.
Coach, did you ever cross paths during your time? This is probably before your time, but did you ever cross paths with Coach Conowitz?
Yeah, we used to have the ground round coaches clinic, I called it. So when I was at Plattsburgh, after the game, we'd all go to the ground round, and after John had got done at Cortland, of course, Jay Crozier was his point guard, so we'd go up to the ground round, and then John would start telling me all kinds of things about coaching. And then Bob Hudak brought him over a few times when I was at North Country and gave me some coaching clinics. So that's where I first met Coach Conowitz and got to hear everything about him. And I knew he was down at Cortland. And I heard you talking about him, and you saw him coaching this year with Plattsburgh, but he had helped out Tom Curl quite a bit. And I don't know if you know J.B. Douglas over at Ausable Valley. Jamie played for John Conowitz at North Country, and Jamie's the coach at Ausable now, and John helps out there also. And John does a lot of individual sessions for kids all over that Plattsburgh area. There's a place called Camp Dudley down on Lake Champlain. Ben Nelson, who's the head of Section 4, runs the camp, and John used to help all kinds of kids with post moves and stuff down there. They got all kinds of basketball courts and floors. So yeah, John's been pretty synonymous with this area for quite a while.
Yeah, I was at North Country for Coach Conowitz's first year. Unfortunately, I had to sit out the year I had knee surgery. But
was
during
Pete
my
Mullen
rehab,
there? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But so during my rehab, he was still, like you said, coaching post moves, and I'm a bigger guy. I'm almost 6'5", so yeah, he would, as I was able to, he worked with me, even though I wasn't officially on the team.
I ran across your name. I don't know if you ever seen Flashback in the Plattsburgh Press Republican, and your name popped
Okay.
up, but I don't think they didn't have your first name. It must be they couldn't find it. It said Bartlett had 21 against Saranac and the Rivette boys from Saranac. So it must have been you that played against them, I would think. What year did you go to school and graduate?
I graduated from Salmon River in '82.
Yep, so this was 81, the Flashback, so it must have been you, and you said you had 21 against Saranac, and
Yeah,
some people
I think
get
it was
Saranac. Go ahead.
It was a Christmas tournament. Yeah, it was a Christmas tournament we played in. I remember that.
Yeah, I just happened to run across that the other day, and I said, I'll mention that to Dave, because I didn't know a lot about salmon basketball, and I must apologize to Joey. The only gym I've never been in Section 10 is St. Lawrence Central.
Huh.
I've been in every single gym in the North Country, and I never ran across the St. Lawrence Central gym at all.
Well, back in the old days, you weren't missing much.
No,
The
not at all.
place he's got now, though, is
I have to agree. You
the
should
place
come
he's got
down.
now
though,
is
because-
impressive.
Yeah, we got a brand, well, I mean, we've been in our new gym for 15 years now, but we just got the floor redone and brand new lighting. So now it's new again. So it is pretty nice. We love to have you come down, Coach, and watch a game.
Okay, I'll have to stop in sometime. And then, you were talking about it earlier. I mean, everybody's connected to everybody with the show. Dave Shea mentioned Toby Lane last night. Toby Lane played for me at North Country Community College. And then his dad, Bruce, so we all know Bruce, he was my unofficial assistant over in the bleachers. He used to give me tips from the bleacher on how to coach better. I'm sure you've had people like that in your coaching career too.
Yeah, everybody's a coach and
Yeah.
a referee, and yeah.
Well, I mean, geez, I feel like Pete, Dave, it sounds like Troy deserves some sort of award. It sounds like he watched every one of our shows. He knows more about them than I can remember already.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that we've got a fan in you, Coach Troy. So, we usually get wayward on these things, but obviously one of the things I got written down, you got to talk about, and this might be jumping ahead timeline wise, but you got to talk a little bit about the experience with Jared these last few years with the the national championship trips that you were able to take. Talk a little bit about those experiences.
It's been incredible. I had to wait 33 years to get my title, so I did. I was part of the coaching staff. We won the ECAC Upstate Championship when I was at Plattsburgh State with Eddie Jones. So that was a championship we had, but we were probably a better NCAA team that year and should have gone to the NCAAs, but we got beat in triple overtime by Oswego in the SUNYAC playoffs. So that took away our NCAA chances. So yeah, being with Jared, I've been lucky enough. Every year we've had terrific teams. I think the first year I helped Jared, we went 25-3. And the funny thing, I said to him, we went 25-3, and we didn't win the league, and we didn't win the conference. We didn't win anything. We always ran into Mohawk Valley, who had terrific teams. So yeah, to go 25-3, and we were semifinalists, and we were second in our league, and that was tough. But the reward came later on. And to go to the first national tournament down in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania was terrific. And the funny thing is, associations again. Jen Garish, who had played basketball for me, lived in Bethlehem. So she was one of my former players at North Country. And the fact we got to go to her hometown, and she brought her son over to the game. And there was 5 or 6 other girls that used to play for us and stuff. And we had a nice crowd down at Bethlehem because not too far from New York City, so it was nice. And we came in third that year. We thought that was pretty good. And of course, to have Kayla Carter on both teams really helped. I got to coach his brother, who was All-American, and then Kayla. And I know Kayla probably gets sick of me telling this story, but her junior year, Northeast Clinton played Canton in the state playoffs at SUNY Potsdam. And thanks to the Section 10 referees, Kayla fouled out of the game. Canton won at the buzzer. And Jared called me on the phone. He goes, "What do you think?" And I says, "Well, if we have Kayla and a good point guard, we can win the region." But we didn't get Kayla at first. She went to Brandeis, and we never thought we were getting her. But thanks to her brother and the family, Kayla came back to us, and we were able to go to 2 regional titles and then go to 2 national tournaments. Unfortunately, the tournament this year, as Jared and Chad talked about earlier in the year, because of the COVID, things didn't turn out so well because they told us it was one and done when we got there, and it's usually a 3-game series, and you can work your way to win a trophy in the losers bracket, or not really a losers bracket because you get 3 games no matter what. But I first met Jared when he played AAU for my friend Bill Johnson up at the Plattsburgh Lakers organization. And Jared was a skinny little kid. He got to North Country. He might have weighed 110 if he was lucky. And Jared, you can just tell, was a great fighter. Eddie Jones, when he was the coach at Plattsburgh, had recruited Jared to go to Plattsburgh first, but Jared's dad thought it was best that he goes to North Country first, which I think helped him out before he got over to Plattsburgh and played for Tom Curl. But Jared's an excellent coach. Just has a winning spirit about him. He talked to me yesterday. He was so disappointed. He thought he had another team that could challenge for another regional title this year. And that's even after we lost 4 starters, which I was surprised him saying. So, yeah, it's been fantastic to be part of those things, you know. Growing up and watching Potsdam State and seeing everything they did, you know, and then to actually get to go to a couple national championships ourselves. It's not the same level, but it was great.
I tell you what, it was a thrill for us to just watch the whole thing unfold, Coach. Us being North Country people, and of course, like Joey said before, North Country Community College is very, very close to our heart, and we were sitting there on the edge of our seat just watching or listening to the game. So it was nice to see it broadcast, so a lot of people could enjoy it. But what a thrill that must have been for you.
Yeah, and it was incredible the fact that we got to play, like Jared talked, our regional game home this year on our home court. And to see the support from the community come out was fantastic. You know, so all the people that were, Chad could tell you there, he laughs now because when he came to me, if we got 6 people in the gym for a game, that was a big crowd. And I used to hire a DJ just so we'd have crowd noise. And I had $100 half-court shot out of my own pocket. I made it almost through the whole year, and they came in one day and they go, "Coach, you lost your $100 tonight." The kid made the half-court shot. So then the bookstore heard about it, that I had paid for it out of my pocket, and they paid me back, and they took care of the half-court shot after that. And Chad's helped and Jared's helped to build the crowds over the year and get people interested. And it always helps to have North Country kids on your team. Like over the years, having the kids from Chateauguay and Malone on our team really helped. And I don't know if you guys know, it was a big thrill. One year we played at Franklin Academy. We had to put down the 3-point lines, and Gene Boyer was on our team, and Ryan Lamica was our point guard, who was from Malone. And Ryan's a pretty special kid, and a lot of people from Malone like him. So we packed the Malone gym, and we played Paul Smith, and Gene Boyer put on a show. Ryan threw about 4 different alley-oops to him, and Gene dunked it every which way. And one time he dunked and the whole backboard went sideways, and I think, is her name Eileen Cullen there? I thought she was going to have a heart attack. But Gene went up and dunked. So it was a lot of fun. And then we played at Chateauguay one year when we couldn't use our gym because of our Christmas show. So we played 2 games at Chateauguay High School one year. And it's funny there, you know, my relationships with people from Malone and Chateauguay, and I could tell you Chateauguay was a hated rival back when I was a kid. Rick Carlisle senior year, we played Chateauguay for the championship at Lisbon Gym, and this kid Randy Blow came out of nowhere. I think he was a sophomore, and beat us. And there was a kid named Dooley Swanston. Those were the Chateauguay kids that beat us back then, and Rick lost his final regular season game to Chateauguay. So I wasn't much of a Chateauguay fan, but that quickly turned around. Meeting all the people from the Chateauguay and the Boyer family are pretty close to my heart there. having True and Michael on the team, and Ronnie and his wife, and just real special people from Chateaugay. You know, a lot of people have got, that include Mike Martin and Weasel, and just the Martin kids and everybody. You know, a little Walker there is going to be a special player too. I saw him play this year. He's on his vein to be quite a player too.
You know, you mentioned Pete and I. Didn't you and I broadcast those games, Pete? The ones that were in Chateaugay, or at least one of them? Or am I wrong?
I don't know, Joey. We did a lot of them up there.
Yeah, I could have sworn that we did, but boy, you mentioned Randy Blow too, Coach Roy. I played a lot of adult league basketball against Randy Blow. Probably one of the best set shooters I've ever played against. His feet didn't leave the floor, but if he had time to get his shot off, you might as well it's going in.
Yeah, he was a terrific shooter. And then Timmy Barnwell played with us at Plattsburgh, and I remember Timmy could really jump when he was a young kid. He could fly. And then I don't know how Bilo and Timmy Barnwell could be on the same basketball team, because I don't think there's enough basketballs around to shoot between those two. They both like their shots, so I don't know how they learned to share the ball if they played on the same team together.
Well, you know, you bring up something that, and it's why North Country, I think, is so special, is that North Country connection that ends up, there just always seems to be some North Country flavor on the Saints roster. And, you know, I sit here and I think about the times that I've driven up to watch games, and it's just so nice to know that you got good quality basketball that you could go watch in the town of Saranac Lake. You can go watch a good college basketball game. There's just something different about, you know, a North Country game. It's to me, it's always felt that way. It feels like an event to me. It always has.
I remember you talking with somebody earlier. You were there the night Ian Henderson dropped 12 threes in, and Ian probably couldn't guard that trophy behind you. You know, he would hate me saying that, but Ian could definitely flat out shoot. You know, he can shoot, and Ian played Division III basketball at Utica College, and I said, I see they're playing a lot of zone, Ian. And he started laughing, you know. So, but the Henderson family, also great people too, and no,
well, Coach. Well, I hate to interrupt you there, but my recollection of that game and why it was such a big deal, that was my first game because Donovan Patra was on your roster that year. So I went up to watch. That was really my first time going up to watch North Country since I was a kid. So it's been a while. And I walk in and watch a game that gets into – both teams get to the hundreds before overtime. I'm like, holy cow, what is going on? This is supposed to be just deep, you know, JUCO college basketball, and I'm watching two teams score 100 points. I was going, this is crazy.
I said to Chad, are we doing shell drill during practice? He goes, no, shooting drills. Shooting drills. Yeah, he had a drill called the 50 drill, and we did the 50 drill, and we usually scrimmaged. And I think one time, we took almost 63s down at Fulton Montgomery one game, which didn't help. But he goes, hey, Chad, you know we just took 63s? He goes, what? So he liked to get the ball up, and he liked to shoot it. And Chad, when he played for me, the first game he ever played, he played against Sudi Canton, and I think he made 8 threes that game for me. And Chad was a lot of my team the first year. When I took over, they weren't very good, and we finished 10-14, which we thought was respectable. You know, when I had Chad, and Chad was just such a knowledgeable kid and such a tough kid. And he always tells the story when I got a hold of him. I think Chad he played all 3 sports, and they went to the States and everything at Norwood. He says, Coach, I think with the 3 sports combined, all the losses I had together added up to 8 or 9. And I said, well, Chad, we're probably going to lose a few more here at North Country. So I had to let them know ahead of time that things were a little more difficult. And that's back when Cobleskill and Morrisville and Alfred and all those schools were still playing JUCO basketball. Dave could attest to that. JUCO, I mean, was really tough. And, you know, on our side with the Mountain Valley, you always had Herkimer and Mohawk, you know, every single year in Hudson Valley. So you really had to battle against really good programs.
Yeah, and then you're also playing some of those D3 teams that schools that had JV teams, and it always seemed that they had one of their varsity players who was playing a rehab game or something, and he just killed you.
You talk about that, Dave. I remember I'm over playing pickup basketball at St. Lawrence University, and their JVs are getting ready to come out, and then here comes the Potsdam JVs, and I see this kid with real long arms, big nose, and I'm watching him jump. So I go over to Steve Kamak and I go, "Who's that kid there?" He goes, "That's Steve Babiars." And he was in the JV game. He says, "You might want to watch him because that'll be the last JV game he plays." As you guys know, Steve was from the Utica area and he was an unbelievable player. And they'd put him on the front of the 1-3-1 trap there, and he'd just turn and jump one way and the other and try to get the ball looped over his head, and they'd steal it. And it was amazing to watch those guys play at Potsdam. I know we've all talked about it, but that was a treat to grow up in northern New York and see a program like that was fantastic. Joey, I did want to mention the fact that I was up, I think Al St. Pierre talked about the fact that a lot of people think we grow up in the middle of nowhere, but I think about some of the coaches that were up in northern New York when I was growing up, and of course Jerry Welsh, and then Paul Evans, who coached at Pitt and coached David Robinson at Navy, was the St. Lawrence coach when I was growing up. And we used to have a membership over there. We could go play pickup basketball at St. Lawrence and use the weights and saunas and Augsbury. And I'd be watching St. Lawrence practice, and my dad goes, "What do you think?" And I says, "Well, Dad, they should fire the track coach." He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "Look at St. Lawrence running in there." I mean, Paul Evans ran these guys into the ground. And I don't know, a lot of people don't know because Potsdam was so good back then. St. Lawrence was right there with them. Usually they had George Hughes and Drew Schoenberg and Jimmy Young and the Jenkins boys. And these guys were fantastic basketball players. And Paul Evans was a really good coach. And I think a few times them in Potsdam would battle to see who would go to the NCAA Final Four. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. Now,
and then coaches, Joey, Jerry York was the Clarkson coach. He's been at Boston College now forever. I remember one of my favorite days of my life, I went and watched Mike Dean play basketball in the afternoon at Potsdam, and then I go watch David Taylor play hockey for Clarkson in the evening. Now, Dave Taylor ended up playing for the Los Angeles Kings, as you know, and is a hockey executive. And to see those kind of people, and then Jerry York, whose name's all over Boston College, and his name's on the wall, and I think he's one of the all-time winningest coaches. And then I get to Plattsburgh. Norm Law ended up being the assistant coach for Paul Evans down at Pittsburgh after he left Plattsburgh. So there's all those associations again. But to see that kind of coaching, and then, of course, all the Section 10 coaches I grew up with, the Jerry Harahans and the Bill Myrnas and the George Gordons, rest his soul, people like that, just everybody, I mean, we're lucky. We grew up in a great area.
Definitely.
Oh,
yeah, you're so right, Coach. In what makes us different than going downstate, where there's just a lot more people, we just seem to all know each other and we respect each other. You can see somebody and you go, "I know that guy. That's the coach for such and such a place," or that guy played for such and such a place. So you're absolutely right. And I just wanted to say, so I know one show you haven't seen because we just taped it last night. We had Hal Cohen and Bob McKinney on last night, and that'll be released here probably within a week or so.
Well, let me tell you my Bob McKinney, Hal Cohen story. I don't know if you guys know, but back in the early 70s, the sectional tournament used to be during the season. So they'd stop the regular season, the Northern Athletic Conference, and they would play the sectional title. And all schools played each other. So my brother said, "Let's go watch Canton play Saranac Lake." Now, Canton had Bobby McKinney and Hal Cohen, and Saranac Lake had Kim Townsend, Neil Townsend, Dirk Ewan, and Fraser Sturgeon had a loaded team. So Jerry Hurahan has Hal and Bobby stall the ball the whole game. And these two guys put out a dribbling show, and I think Canton won like 21-18 and beat Saranac Lake. And I got a hold of Jerry on Facebook a while back, and he goes, "You remember that game, huh?" And I go, "I do." And I'll tell you what, Joe Girard might have company. Joe Girard III might have company if they had a 3 back when Hal played, because Hal shot deep jumpers. And it was a treat anytime you saw Hal play in high school.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Pete.
No, I was going to mention something. It just slipped my mind all of a sudden.
Well, you mentioned Paul Evans, Coach Roy, and that's why I brought up Hal and Bob, because we hadn't heard the name Paul Evans at all in any of our shows. And Bob played for Paul Evans at SLU, and he brought him up last night. And perhaps you bring him up. It was kind of ironic that you brought him up tonight. So
Yeah, it's funny too, because Daryl Christ, who coached with me, played at Seton Hall for PJ Carlesimo. And of course, you know, Rick Carlisle was PJ's assistant. And my brother Mike went to a game on the road, and he went into the locker room, and PJ there's kind of a rough customer, and he goes, Carlisle, you slow ass white guy, how the hell did you ever make the NBA? You're the slowest guy I've ever seen in my life. So PJ there could be a little rough around the edges, and Daryl's told me stories about PJs that I probably couldn't mention on here, so we'll keep it at that. But another connection, and then I can tell you a nice thing about Rick. My sister went to the prom with him back when they were kids at Lisbon, and then Rick ended up being assistant coach for the Pacers, and my sister lived in Indianapolis. So me and my brother Mike go to the game, and after the game, my brother Mike goes down and flags down Rick. And he goes, "I'll be right back." So Rick brings us down into the underbelly of the old Market Square Arena. We come walking in, and there's Jalen Rose on a bike biking after the game. He goes, "Hey, fellas, how's it going?" And then Rick takes us into this room. He goes, "Wait here, I'll be back in a second." So Rick brings us into the room, and he goes, "Here's Larry Bird and Quinn Buckner." So there's Larry Bird. He introduced us to it. He goes, "Well, guys, I just got done doing a Miller commercial. What do you want, a Miller or a Miller Lite?" He goes, "We'll drink whatever you're having." So there we are having a beer with Quinn Buckner and Larry Bird in the bottom of Miller of the Market Square. You know, and Rick's always been great to everybody from Lisbon. He would do anything for anybody. And I don't know if you guys followed with Dave Shea there. They just dedicated the gym in honor of Rick's dad over at the Boys Club. I'm sure Tommy Lucky will talk more about that. But Rick's just a good guy, and he never bigs time people, and he would do anything to help anybody out.
We had Tom Lucky on the other
We're
night.
open.
Oh yeah, we had Tom Lucky on the other night, and unfortunately, we had a lot of technical problems with the internet and recording it. And Tom was hinting during that show that something big was coming, but he couldn't tell us. And not that it was going to air anyway until after it was done, but we understand. So we're going to have Tom back on here, I believe. Was it 16th or something, Joey? He's coming back on for a reboot, and he'll be talking more about that. But what a great dedication over there for Preston Carlisle.
Yeah, and anybody will tell you if you ever played pickup with Preston, he had the sharpest elbows in the North Country there. He was pretty rough when you played against him.
I don't know.
He'd play a lot of pickup ball at St. Lawrence, and I think we might have had a few fisticuffs almost because of Preston when he played on our team, because he'd hit some St. Lawrence kid in the ribs or the head with his elbow, and next thing we know, we thought we were going to have a fight.
Coach Roy, I don't want to date you here, but I know Preston's 90 years old. How long ago was this?
Oh, this is back. Well, his son Billy and I are about the same age, so yeah, I think Preston played up into his 60s or 70s.
Wow.
He just can't play a pickup ball.
Yeah.
And I know, Joey, you talked about. Go ahead, Pete.
No, it's okay. I'd rather have you talk. But I was going to bring it up. You talked about the delay game earlier. That the old school delay game before shot clocks. Dave and I had the honor of playing for a coach in San River, Coach Herb McLaren. Now, Herb played. I don't know if you're familiar with Herb. He's from Malone. He's a Malone native. Ended up roots in Fort Covington, but he's a longtime coach at San River. But anyway, make a long story longer. Talk about the sharpest elbows I've ever played against, and Dave can verify this. He played pickup with us way into his 60s. Still a hell of an athlete, but before the shot clock, one of the things we did was a four-corner offense, and there were games that never got above 30. I mean, and sometimes that was total between two teams. So I know exactly what you're talking about, the old school stuff before the shot clock, and it just brought up a couple memories for me. That's all.
No, I
I
remember.
swear, I swear there were games that if we got a 4-0 lead, he'd yell 4 corners.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Spread it out. Yeah.
I remember Ricky Carlisle's senior year, we're playing St. Regis Falls, and we got a new coach, Tom Amello. And he decides to stall the ball. We beat St. Regis like 22-12. And all the fans go, "What are you doing? Rick Carlisle can score 50 points on his own."
Yeah, right.
And it's funny, Ricky, I remember we were over playing at Parishville, and he's got 58 points after the third quarter, and they take him out. And I go, "Why is Rick out of the game?" He goes, "He's going to break the record at home. We're going to wait till he gets home." So we get home and we play Parishville there, and Ricky gets 60 and breaks the Section 10 record. Then it got broken. I think Jimmy Myers there has the record now at 63 for most points in a game. But I remember, yeah, Rick held it for a while. He had 60 in a game, and he probably could have had 70 or more if they had kept him in longer. But I always remember that. And like I said, I remember the first game, for some reason we're stalling the ball, and I have no idea why, because we didn't have to. But yeah, growing up with that kind of stuff is amazing to a kid from out in the middle of nowhere, you know. And I remember watching Rick play. He was on the University of Maine, and he went and played over at UVM. I know you and I, Joey, had talked about UVM games later on. It got a lot better after that. And Rick had 28 against Vermont, and we're talking to him after the game. He goes, "Oh, good game." He goes, "Oh, I don't know if I did good enough." And I don't know if you know, Rick there was looking at Virginia and North Carolina, deciding which school he was going to go to when he transferred. And then, he ended up picking Virginia there and playing with Ralph Sampson. And it's funny, they never went to the Final Four till the year after Ralph left. I always remember that. And those were big events to see Rick on TV, back in the day. And I don't know if you know, back then the ACC three-pointer was inside the top of the arc when he first played.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Vital would get out there and throw it up. He goes, look at this. This isn't a three-pointer. I could even make it." And I remember on TV talking about it. And the one sad thing, just real quick, Joey, I remember about Rick. Rick's playing against Michael Jordan, and it is probably its claim to fame, other than what Michael Jordan there put on The Last Dance there when he showed Rick turning the ball over and getting scored on and dunked on. North Carolina's playing Virginia, and I think Virginia's up 1, and here comes Rick up the court, and Jordan strips him and goes in and dunks it and wins the game. I always remember that, so.
I just got done
Rick,
watching that.
How's that?
Just got done watching that today. Yep. Mm-hmm. Documentary.
And I think a lot of people forget too, Coach, and maybe I'm wrong. It seems like this is what I remember. Didn't Virginia go to the Final Four with Rick the year after Ralph Sampson?
He did, and Rick scored the winning basket against Arkansas in the quarterfinal game. I remember me and my brother right out the door of our house when he hit the winning shot. We were so excited. We ran out. We started screaming and yelling because Rick made the winning basket to get him to go into the Final Four. And I remember Joe Klein played on Arkansas, and that ended up being one of Rick's teammates at Boston for the Celtics after Rick got there. Yeah, which was kind of neat.
Big redhead guy.
Yeah.
Joe Klein.
I know, Joey, you like golf a lot there, and you had talked about golf. And when I used to go to Plattsburgh State, I always would drive by Meadowbrook Golf Course, and sometimes I'd stop and play golf there.
Oh, yeah?
And, yeah, so one time I stopped off, and I had forgotten my putter. And I had this old putter with a hickory shaft, and I said to Mickey, "Could I trade this in for a putter?" The putter was the Billy Baru, as you remember, from Caddyshack days. Yeah. So the Billy Baru was handed in for another putter. I said, "It's probably above the bar there now at Meadowbrook." I never got it back. I always remember that.
I'll have to go looking through Lost and Found. I've never seen that over there. If I get my hands on it, I will.
And then I remember one time, me and Wade Reed, I don't know if you know Wade, the ref, Wade and Ernie,
Yeah.
Mhm.
we were playing over there, and here comes Craig Conroy
Yeah.
of the Calgary Flames was playing hockey or playing golf over there, and he had us join up with him in a foursome, and we played at Meadowbrook, and there was Craig Conroy. Also, I got to go to the U.S. Open at Bethpage the year Tiger won. My brother-in-law is from Long Island and an avid golfer, so I got to go to that. And then got to go to the President's Cup up on Montreal, and the first person I run into when I get up there is Skipper.
Yeah.
There's Steve
Oh, yeah?
at the President's
Steve
Cup
Skiff.
up in Montreal. And I don't know if you know, they're coming back again, Joey.
I was at that President's Cup. I also went to that. I saw I was at the Woody Austin falling into the lake day. I can't remember what day
we
it
were
was.
all going to get swim caps the next day and say we were part of his swim team and follow him around. I remember walking up I walked up beside Mike Weir, who ended up beating Tiger head-to-head that year. And
Yeah.
I mean, Mike Weir was 5'6" or 5'7". He was lucky to be that. And I remember that. And I remember seeing him out at Bethpage too. And me and my brother said, good shot. And we didn't realize he had put it in the sand trap, and he kind of sneered at me and my brother when we said, good shot. And I don't know if you know, Joey, I never realized that going to those golf tournaments, the year we went to Bethpage, everybody was with Phil or Tiger.
Yeah.
So we go over to another hole, and we're standing by Ernie Els in his caddy, standing right next to him. Ernie Els gets up and puts in a hole in one, and we're as close as we could be to Ernie Els. And that's the great thing about golf. You can be so close to all these guys, at these tournaments.
Well, you're sparking my memory. That was a huge deal in that President's Cup in Montreal in 2007 because Mike Weir beat Tiger Woods, and this is Tiger's heyday. He's the number one player in the world, and Mike Weir on his home turf beats Tiger Woods. That was a huge deal.
Yep. And I wanted to tell you, I honed my game at the Madrid Golf and Country Club. That's where I learned to play, if you'd ever played over there or not. The little 9-hole there, which is basically a pitch and putt with there's 2 par 4s, the first hole and the last hole. And me and my dad would get done in the summer working, and we'd head over to Madrid, and we played that course over and over again.
Yeah, driver optional course, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll love this, Joey. When I went to SUNY Canton, for Canton ATC students, it was $3 weekdays and $4 on the weekend to play 18 holes of golf. So we'd all be over there playing golf every chance we got when we were at Canton.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was incredible. The kids that never played golf that were on my floor, they all started picking it up, and we'd have 2 foursomes go over after we got done college. We had loads of fun over there. I just wanted to tell you a quick story. I played in the Petty one year, and funny story about Don Petty there. I don't know if you know Mario Salazar. Mario refereed for a while. So
Yep.
Mario and I and my other assistant, Forrest Lottie, are at the SUNY Potsdam gym one night, and all of a sudden Forrest Lottie looks over and he goes, "Hey, isn't that Tom Petty over there?" And Mario goes, "Yeah, and I think the Heartbreakers are right behind him." So every time Forrest lives in Southwest Falls now, so every time I'm down by Saratoga, I go, "Hey, is Don Petty playing tonight at Saratoga?" And he calls me a lot of different family names, so that's always a kick. And yeah, Mario lives down in Saratoga now, and he helped me coach basketball. And I just wanted to tell another quick story before we got done. It's about changing a negative into a positive. My uncle Al Primo taught phys ed at Augsburg Free Academy for over 30 years. He played football at St. Mary's Academy, and then went on to play college out in Findlay, out in Ohio. And so, yeah, he was the phys ed teacher for elementary, and then he was JV football coach, and he started lacrosse back in the 70s at OFA. So my uncle there was kind of a hard guy on the players and stuff, so some kids didn't like him. So one summer day, my uncle and my brother are sitting on the front porch of my grandparents' house up on Caroline Street in Augsburg. And these kids go by and they go, "Hey, Mr. Primo, F you." My uncle looks over at my brother. He goes, "You hear that, Mike? They called me Mr. Primo." So, so that's my story on my uncle and turning a negative into a positive. And my uncle's good friends. My uncle, more name dropping, but my uncle and Jim Howard, who refereed, and whose son Jimmy, plays for the Red Wings there. My uncle and my aunt got to go to the back of the Howard's house when Jimmy brought the Stanley Cup home, and then they gave me some pictures of that. But yeah, that was kind of a neat story that we always tell each other. I just wanted to say that before we got done.
Oh, I'm totally calling Pete now, Mr. Goslaw.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if that's a compliment or not. So, yeah.
Well, Coach, man, did this hour fly by?
Yeah. Wow.
Just absolute pleasure to have you on. Hear all these stories and all these names, and I think Dave and Pete would agree with me. All the basketball shows we've done and all the names that we've heard. I mean, boy, you've got a lot of stories and a lot of connections, and what a great 35 years it's been, 34 years it's been for you at North Country and in basketball in general, because obviously those stories are near and dear to your heart, and we can't thank you enough for coming on tonight.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know there. I was down in Glens Falls a week ago, so I had to go over by the Elm Street Tavern and see Bar Food, one of our favorite places.
Bar Food.
I said, I can't wait to get back to Bar Food and see Kenny Craig and Steve Andrews.
Always that's always my starting spot is Bar Food. That's where I start when I go down there.
Oh, man, did we miss that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I couldn't wait. I didn't go to Binghamton. I was waiting to go back to Glens Falls like you guys this year. So next year we'll get back down there, and we'll all have to meet up at Bar Food and have a good time.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, Coach, like Joey said, this hour went right by. We're going to try to get you and the other two, Chad and Dumont back on here so we can reminisce some more. I think there's a lot more stories to be had, and I think that'd be a great show. So I want to thank you for coming on. Like I said before, and Joey said it, North Country Community College is very dear to our heart. It's home to us. It's very much home to us. My daughters both go there, and hopefully it'll be home for us for a while, and as well as you. So we wish you the best going forward.
Thanks again, guys. I really appreciate having me on and talking about North Country sports. And anytime you want to do it again, I'm willing to come back.
We'll take you up on that. All right.
Hey, have somebody pay the light bill there.
Yeah.
The lights turned on. Yeah, the lights went out on me when I was in the classroom. There must be on a timer. So I'm on crutches right now, so I can't get back over to the light.
Oh.
And I said, geez, this really worked out well.
All right. Have a good night. That's going to be it here tonight on ESS, Empire State Sports, the Wise Guy Sports Talk Show. Joey Ream, Dave Bartlett, myself, and our special guest, Coach Rob Roy from North Country Community College, saying good night, everybody, and stay safe.